Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/ScottPGallagher.
Well, good afternoon. This is Scott with Local Marketing Source, and our weekly local marketing industry update is about to begin. Now, before I do, I want to apologize in advance for everybody that's live on the line right now. On that note, I am going to start my backup recording. There we go. Now we've got our backup recording because my internet seems to be really spotty right now. We had some nasty storms over the last couple of days, and today the internet's just been going in and out. So I know people that are live right now are going to get some spotty interruptions. Just to know that as soon as I am finished the call, I will have the recording available to you and get that done. All right. So let's get started. This week we've got a few different things to talk about in regards to the results. There's been some changes in the results. First off, the last couple of days I've noticed this myself, and then I just started reading about it, and it seems to be very evident in Chicago as well as New York. I don't know if it's affecting too many other areas at this point, but the Google location results are very screwy, and I'll talk about that. The Google PAC results, I've got some good news about that. We had some scares over the last few months, and want to give some updates and changes on that. And then finally, with the algorithm itself, with the results, and we know we've had some changes with the Googlebomb fix, and Google is not confirming anything, so I want to share our thoughts on that and how to effectively prepare for that and what's going on. So we got three different things to talk about that are all, I mean, our business is in the business of ranking, and we're in the business of getting local businesses to the top of Google when somebody's ultimately searching. And there's so many different dynamics of where content can be displayed, whether it's in the local pack, how that local pack is displayed on the front page, if it is 3, if it is 1 that's embedded into the results, what type of organic results get displayed, where those organic results are showing and whatnot. So with these three things, the location results being screwy, I'm gonna talk about that, and the PAC results is ultimately the local results that are showing in the front page and how that's embedded, and I want to differentiate that. And then finally, the changes to the local algorithm. So they're all three completely different aspects to what goes into ranking, which I find interesting in today's discussion, because it's just one general topic of ranking. But now the local results, I was doing a search and I was getting some strange results for a client. I had them on the line a couple, and I was getting results for a different town, and I said, well, what the heck was going on? Oh, and I went, my location had changed on me to some place in Indiana, and I'm not quite too sure how or why or it was there. And I thought, well, maybe I'd change it at some point in time, and I just went on with my day. And then I changed it back to the location I required, and did searches with a geomod and without a geomod, and I noticed that the results I was showing, it was for a California customer, and I was getting results in Florida. And I made a comment about it because I said, geez, that's a shitty situation for the NHL if with the two teams that get to the Stanley Cup are Florida against California, Tampa Bay against Anaheim. And I think that's hilarious coming from Canada as a hockey fan. So started to look into these results and realized that Google, when I didn't put in a geomod, Google was not doing a very good job at trying to determine what location results it wanted to show. And we know that there's certain triggers that we talk about that trigger local results as opposed to general organic across the board results. and it wasn't necessarily triggering the local results that we were looking for. It was triggering local results, but giving us different locations. What was going on with that internally was obviously a bug, a mess of some sort. And other people begun starting to report it yesterday. So I want to bring that to your attention, that if you're running and you're looking at some results in the last 24 hours and seeing, take a look at that as to what are the causes, and it's really affecting the organic results, not necessarily the local pack results. And so now moving on to the pack results, it was about 6 months ago, possibly, that I started the report that the pack results were being removed from certain search phrases. And we were able to get metric numbers within the industry in terms of how often the pack results are shown for local search results. And it dropped as low as a 12%, where it normally was around a 20 to 25%, and it always has been since 2009. And there was a lot of scare in the industry. There was a lot of discussion because everything that we were doing was to help motivate ultimately pack results, and we anticipated seeing more pack results, and all of a sudden they were pulled back. Well, what we were reporting was that they weren't being necessarily pulled back just right across the board. They were being pulled back on specific industries. Just like how they continued to bastardize the marketing industry for local results. In other words, it's very difficult to get local results for, say, SEO. We saw it within industries that were either very expensive on the paid side, and the expensive industries are usually the ones that have a lot of spamming, like the insurance industry and like the attorney industry. Well, in the last couple of days, we have started to see that come back. They just ran a study yesterday to look at it, and we were hitting 22% for searches. We're right back where we used to be for all industries. And so this is likely going to continue. Why? Now, when we start to decipher some of the reasons why this might have happened, internally in Google, it seemed like a step backwards. And it was very likely that they had to pull back a little bit to clean up some of that spam. Well, it might be completely correlated to some of the other things that we were going to talk about, is these major changes inside the local algorithm that have just happened in the last few days. We didn't see any big changes from mobile get-in. Google said that it was, continually rolling out, and all of a sudden, boom, we're seeing some big changes in local. So we're seeing more of local results show up, and we're seeing changes within those local results and shakeups with those. It's a great thing that we're starting to see more of these local things. I think that it is showing confidence that Google is continuing to build within themselves for their local pack algorithms. It's the local pack algorithms that are much more vastly influenced by social factors as opposed to the organic results. Now, what I mean by social factors for local business is like customer engagement, finding those heroes and having and creating discussions in the social sides of it. Well, isn't it kind of ironic that a couple of weeks ago, Google made the announcement that they were mining data from Twitter? And I got into a whole dissertation last week about the whole aspect of Google Plus, and I don't know if people are writing about it, but in a sense, it's an element of a clear failure, and they're backtracking on themselves and able to find some of these social signals that genuinely exist elsewhere. Well, I think that the fact that these pack results are coming back just confirms our elements that the algorithm requires a good business. It requires happy customers, and it requires those customers to be out on the internet and being visible on their devices. You know, how much time we spend on our mobile devices now. I remember hearing the term, the hours were just, I think it was like 4 hours. The average American male or adult, I think it's like 4 hours a day on mobile devices. I, uh, I'm putting I can't believe that. Like, it just, the number is staggering. It's mind blowing. A lot of you probably don't know. I don't own a cell phone, and it's been over a year now that I haven't had one. I went for a 1 month trial and said, well, I can do 2 months, and it doesn't take anything away from my life. It actually enhances my life a lot. It does provide some frustrations to other people when they try to get in touch with me, but it's just like, you know, when I grew up and we sat down for dinner, my mom would take the phone off the hook and put it into the drawer and close the drawer, and then you'd very faintly hear the meh, 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 meh sound. But we grew to ignore that. We didn't want phone calls during our meal. It made sense. And, when I go out and talk to individuals and whatnot, a lot of people on social media, I find it ironic, post pictures and saying we play this game that when we go out, we put our phones in the middle and the first person to check their phone pays the bill. It's great. We don't need a lot of that. But I digress, and it doesn't change the fact that I am a marketer, and I do involve majority of my life in marketing, and that because I operate that way doesn't mean that the majority operates that way. It's clearly not the fact, and we have an opportunity to take advantage of those sheep that are continually on these devices. And I vastly believe that businesses that get this engagement on these mobile devices, however they do it, there are ways to demonstrate that. And it goes back, and we want that information readily available to a search engine to see. Look at us. Look at what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. Lay everything out on the line. Well, the fact that there are more packed results inevitably must confirm that Google has got their confidence in their algorithm. And with these changes here, the way Google's MO works is they do testing, and they'll grab a group of users, their sample group, and it's a random sample, and conduct their tests. They'll do their split testing on whatever changes or theories or theses that they may be speculating. And if the tests turn out positive, they may roll it out to a much larger group or roll it out across the board. This is public, and Google has discussed this, and this is the way businesses tend to test aspects. And so when we talk about an algorithm, if they're going to make a change to an algorithm, they test it with groups, and they have multiple tests going on, and then they decide, hey, we're going to roll it out. Well, there was a Googlebomb that we talked about, and it was in Google Maps. And Google Maps is very closely tied, is essentially the same algorithm as the local results. And it's not the same because you do get different results if you're looking at both of them and running rankings on both. But essentially, Google Maps drives Google Local. And Google Maps is a user edited interface, and it was drastically put the security on it in the last couple of weeks. When we started to see items like Edward Snowden that had office space inside the White House. Who knows what else went on with it, and so the security gates went up with these fixes. And recently we've seen some changes in local, and our industry is speculating that the Googlebomb fix is directly related to these local result changes. I don't think it is. I mean, we're speculation. Google hasn't confirmed, but they also haven't denied that it is. maybe people at Google are sitting back and chuckling and just having fun, and that's probably more likely of what it is. Sometimes we think of the world as way too complicated than what it really is, and I find evidence of this almost every single day as it goes on. And um, like whether, okay, I'm a hockey fan, and whether it's hockey, and when we're sitting there and we're listening to the announcers and watching a hockey game and what's going on, and the sophistication of the coaching staff and then the players, and um, the referees and people in Toronto that are overlooking every single play, and then you've got the millions of dollars of all the advertisers that are going on. It looks like a very sophisticated, orchestrated event, and it's really much more chaotic than it turns out to be. And here's an example that it was the Winter Classic, and they weren't sure about starting the game at 1 o'clock because of the shadow of the sun coming down. And the players, the captain Jonathan Toews of Chicago, said, like, why are you guys talking about delaying this? We want to play. We're the players. Let's get out here and play. And the game was announced across the board, media and this and that it was going to be delayed, and all this stuff that was going on and whatnot. And one player turned around and went to another player, the captain of the Capitals, and said, man, what the hell? Do you want to play too? He says, well, yeah. He says, then let's tell these refs that we want to play right now. And they ended up playing right now. You think about military operations and whatnot, and you read historic events, and when you get into details of certain generals and what goes on. I was just reading something about the capture of what we heard in the media of Osama bin Laden, and that you look at all the different quote unquote conspiracies that are out there, that there wasn't really any sophisticated plan on what we do hear about. It was a little more chaotic. People were killed that weren't supposed to be, but you can see a lot of that. That my point is when we look at businesses, when we look at big organizations, and how they operate and their goals, that it looked like it was step by step and following the plan, and it more times than not it doesn't. And I find that in our industry, I find that the mainstream media, will say, or the mainstream media in our industry, for that matter, the go-to aspects tend to follow a lot of the same aspects of just general mainstream media, that they feed the information that to the consumers, to the readers, that tends to make a lot of sense. And why are there people, this Googlebomb fix, okay, you think 2 weeks ago Google hears one day that Edward Snowden is inside the White House. Well, there's people inside going, holy shit, what the hell happened there? And then a boss comes down and says, holy crap, Johnny, we got to fix this immediately. All right, we got all these user edits available. Let's shut it down. Let's shut down all user edits for now until we can get in there. Well, the next day they shut down user edits. All right. They get in there, and a week later, Google makes an announcement, or however many days it was, makes an announcement and said, hey, we got it fixed. Well, you've got a platform that somebody can come in and change data, and then you have, it's like Wikipedia. Think of it in the sense of Google's Maps, like a Wikipedia, that some people can come in and edit and others can't. And you've got trusted people that come in and can get edit without getting approvals, and there's certain areas that can't be edited. And the Google Maps algorithm had to operate in a similar sense as that. We've got to assume that there's different elements of trust and different elements that can be changed. Well, this was always user data. The algorithm has not relied on user inputted data for a decade. Their algorithmic finesse has been able to determine, and we can't fool the search engines. There's just the footprints that are necessary to create and have ongoing defeat the efforts. It takes too much effort to create that these days than you're going to get in return for those small local businesses. It's just the only way to really continually be number one, as we know, is to deliver a good business, and that's having happy customers. And when you've got happy customers that are out talking about your company, you should be known. So how our industry has correlated user edits and inputs into local algorithmic changes is beyond me. That doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. We talk about all the different tests that are continually going on. We start to look at the elements of the previous discussions I had that Google has added more pack results. I think that's the caveat key to the local changes. I don't think that it's the Googlebomb fix at all. I think the fact that we see evidence that we see more pack results is the fact that it's a lot more obvious than it really should be. Google has been conducting tests over time. They've built confidence in themselves. They've rolled it back. They've gone back to their merits of saying this is the amount of pack results that we think is necessarily right. We've got our mobile get-in that we've seen the different tests. You know what? Maybe when they roll it out, maybe to them, what they don't ever talk about is Google could say, well, we're rolling it out. Are we rolling it out to sample sizes, or are we rolling it out across the board? There was no discussion of that. Maybe they've got their data that they've needed since they've rolled it out. And now they've taken that data and put it into play. They've turned the switches on some of the algorithm, and that algorithm is now across the board. Why isn't our industry discussing that theory? It just makes a lot of sense. You know, Googlebomb fix comes out, and why would Google want to deny that? It would make no sense. Of course they're not going to comment on it. If I was internal in Google, I'd be sitting back and going, well, we don't need people to know how we work. We like the fact that the industry leaders are continuing to talk about these correlations that really doesn't exist. Because if the industry leaders can manipulate an entire industry or a majority of an industry, then that's only helping Google, because in turn, less people are then manipulating and figuring out their algorithm. So it's probably in Google's best interest to let the SEO community to continually think up in the air, and they're laughing along going, I don't know. You can agree or disagree with me. That's up to you. But these are the thoughts. And so I guess the moral of today's discussion is we're continuing on track. That just like last week's discussion in regards to the social aspects, follow, no follow, it doesn't matter. It's getting exposure out there. It's doing what marketing is supposed to do. It's finding the fans of that business. It's creating case studies of those fans and getting those fans out there to share their stories and to share their information and to get them to talk about you and make it easy for them to talk about you that's out there. All right. I don't know if anybody that's on the line, if you can give me any feedback as to whether or not we crapped out at all during this call, but I'm going to take 30 seconds right now, and I'll come back and answer any questions that you guys might have.
Well, thanks for watching the Local Marketing Industry Update. We've got these things coming out every single week, so if you liked with what you heard, just click the button right above me right here to subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to get a little bit more, right over here, go check out localmarketingsource.com. We've got free reports that you can grab. You can even register for a free marketing course to get in and see the portal. Or just go ahead and follow us on some of the social channels. We'll be around. Until next time.